Hey everyone. I guess with this video, I want to take care of two things. Number one, to show you that the large number of regional terms that that you really need to learn and memorize, are not as bad as it seems. That list of terms is pretty reasonable and doable, and also how you can use active studying to learn them, which would be extremely beneficial. And I guess also, you know, maybe nudge you in the right direction that you can actually have fun while you're learning A&P. It doesn't have to be dry and boring and stressful. So, number one, when you look at those um, views of the person standing in anatomical position, front and back view, and you've got all these different terms all pointing to different regions of the body, maybe at first it seems a little overwhelming, but when you look at it, you've got to acknowledge that you already know a bunch of A&P, right? It wasn't a shock to you when you saw on the diagram that this part of your body is the nasal region, or this is the oral region, or your abdominal region was your abdominal region, or mammary was the chest region. There's certain things that you just already know from your regular life. So I think that right away you can eliminate several of those terms as things you have to learn because you already know them, right? And then there's other ones that as soon as you are shown what the term describes, it makes sense because again, you've thought about it and dealt with it in day-to-day life. So manual laborers work with their hands. When you look at the description for the region of the entire hand, it's manual. It's the manual region because that's where the term manual laborer came from because they work with their hands. Or digital. I wasn't really shocked when I saw that digital referred to fingers because we live in the digital age and we're using our fingers to do everything on our phones and on our computers and everything. I was a little surprised when I realized it also applied to toes. So fingers and toes are both digital. But again, all that stuff makes sense when you are first made aware of it. It's not like it was really complex or difficult to master. So when you eliminate all the items that you either already knew or that you uh, completely understand that it makes sense to you once the official term is pointed out to you, then you're left with a bunch of weird ones. And in the content, there's several examples of little memory tricks to remember um, some of the odder terms. And so I guess that you kind of work your way through that, and you've got the ones you already knew, you've got the ones that make sense to you once it's pointed out to you, and you're probably not going to forget them. And then you've got these weird ones where you've worked out all these memory tricks and things, and now you're gonna remember them in the future, based on those little um, unusual thoughts that you have to help you remember the word. So, like otic region, imagine a tick going down your ear. Oh, there's a tick in my ear, or the buckle region, your cheeks, that sort of thing. The chicken sound, just whatever weird stuff you come up with, right? Stuff that I've given you, that we've given you, stuff that you come up with on your own, stuff that you learn from other people. It's all good, right? And so maybe at some point you've actually put in a lot of effort to learn all these regional section terms, regional anatomy terms, and you're feeling pretty confident. And I would say that it's probably not enough to get them all right on the test because I know you're feeling really good when you put that much time into it, and you think if you understand it, well, how could I possibly forget it for the test? But if you're like me, at some point on exams that you've taken in the past and you will take in the future, you get to the question and the answer is right on the tip of your tongue, right? You know it, you've studied it, you know that there's a you probably remember what the page looked like, where you were. If you were listening to music, you probably remember what song you were listening to. You remember everything about it except for the actual answer to the darn question, right? And even though you spent all this time identifying the regional anatomy terms, identifying the ones you already knew, the ones that make sense to you as soon as you're identified, like manual region and things like that, and the ones you worked on really cool memory tricks. You're probably feeling like you're ready for the test. And it turns out that even though you did all that and you put in all that time, when you got to the test, you got stuck on a whole bunch of questions and you really should have gotten them all right. And that's because you missed the important middle piece. And the important middle piece is after you've done all the regular stuff of memorizing or learning ways to remember those terms, you needed to practice proving to yourself that you actually knew them before you're ready to take the test. So what really should have happened was that you put that time in, you have all these amazing things when you're looking at that picture of the guy in anatomical position with all those terms, everything's making sense to you. You've got special ways to remember it. As soon as you feel super confident, that is when you needed to then, okay, put my stuff away and now try to explain it. So, what you would do, you would then say, literally out loud, regardless of whether anybody else is there or not, um, either drawing a picture or identifying, sort of the different regions on your own body or whatever, you would say, okay, now I'm going to talk about the regional terms with regards to anatomy in a human body. And you would feel pretty confident. You'd be going, okay, this is the frontal region, this is the nasal region, this is the oral region, this is something to do. You start to realize you're forgetting stuff. This is like some chicken thing. I don't remember, something about a bug, neck, chest. I don't know. Abdominal. I got that. And you'd struggle through your first attempt to do those. Once you do that, one of the things you realize is what you actually remember and what you need to work on, right? So you figure out what you know, what you don't know, and you go back to your little diagram of the guy in anatomical position, and you're trying to work out, reviewing it, maybe working out new ways to remember things that you hadn't thought of before. So like maybe I couldn't remember that this region of my arm was the antecubital region, and I suddenly had this flashback to Sunday school when I was a kid, and I knew that they used to measure things in cubits in the old days, where that was the distance from your elbow to your middle finger. And so they would actually, they didn't have rulers and stuff, so they would literally measure by the length of their arm from the elbow to the tip of their finger. And so things were measured in cubits. So then all of a sudden, oh, antecubital before the cubit, this region in my arm, just before the cubit, which is my forearm and fingers, that suddenly makes sense to me, right? So now I've got a new way to remember something. So, anyways, you've gone back, you've tried to rework some things, and now you're thinking, okay, now I'm really ready to do this again. And so you then um, put your stuff away and start over. You go, okay, so my skull is my cranium. Um, I got frontal region, I got nasal region, I got oral region, I got the great thinker, the mental region, the the buccal region, something about a bug, I forgot again. Cervical is my neck, chest, I don't remember. Abdominal. And so you find out the next time through you're a little bit better, but not great. And you go back and you review. But after a few times, you're suddenly going cranial, frontal, nasal, oral, mental, buccal, otic, cervical, mammary, acromial, and you're doing it off the top of your head. And once you can do that a few times, then you're really ready to go to that test and take it and have few, if any, it's on the tip of my tongue moments, right? You don't want to have those, right? But that little bit of active studying between putting all the work in on the regional anatomy terms and then taking the test, practicing that active studying was the key step. And the thing that really is maybe surprising to people is that you can make it fun, right? You don't have to be boring. You can, instead of just pointing it out on yourself, you can get with your significant other and say to them, I need to practice regional terms with you. And you're going to go, this is your, this is your, you'll do it on their body and, or with your kids or, with your partner that you're studying with, whatever it is, you can make it interactive. You can make it fun. You can make it interesting for anyone, even people that aren't taking anatomy, and make it so that it's an enjoyable experience rather than a um, something that you dread having to do. And I guess one last thing in that regard before I end this is that one of the ways you can make all of this stuff less of something that you dread having to do is by doing a little bit every day. Okay, because if you're doing it every day, it's your friend. You just saw it yesterday. You just learned something about it yesterday. You kind of remember about what you were learning yesterday, and you're just adding to it today, and it's all connected and it all kinds of makes sense, which is very different than I'm going to postpone studying. I'm going to put it off. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to wait, and then you 3 weeks in, into learning about this stuff, you suddenly try to look at it all at once. That's when it feels completely overwhelming. Whereas if you're just playing around doing this stuff every day and doing a little bit of active studying every day and playing around with this stuff better with other people than by yourself, it would be really, really much more enjoyable, and the end result will be way better. You'll remember the stuff well, you'll remember it longer, and you'll make connections to things that are related to it. All right. Thank you.